I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio on February the 17th, 1929. We lived in a two-story apartment. People my age all know the year 1929 because it was the year the stock market crashed. I think my father became a pharmacist in 1925, and then he must have opened a pharmacy. And my parents were married, I think, in 1923. I remember my brother was born, well, not his birth, but after he was born in November 25th. His birthday's coming up soon, in 1932. And I can picture my father carrying my mother up the stairs to our second story apartment. I remember her lying on the couch holding him and my kneeling next to the couch. In those days, we still had milk wagons, and they were drawn by horses, and the milkman put the milk bottles in front of the door. And I was up on we had a terrace, and I was overlooking the street, and the horse knew to move to the next house, but I didn't know it. I thought he was running away, and I remember running to call my mother that the horse was running away. So that may say a lot, about me and my personality that evolved from that time. But that was the Rice Hill, and that's where I started kindergarten. And it was at Carson School, and I can remember one day, don't ask me why, going to the cloakroom, as it was called, getting my jacket, and walking out of the school, walking all the way home, and then appearing at the back door, and there was a glass pane, and my mother couldn't see me when she came to the door, and then looked down, and there I was, and I can remember all kinds of commotion. But the really strange thing to me was that she didn't send me back to kindergarten. I remember working in my father's drugstore when I was probably a pretty young child, certainly before 1930. I remember that because he had a fountain, and it was very difficult for a little kid to scoop hard ice cream and to make ice cream cones. Small items, toothpaste, shaving cream, whatever, lotions, whatever people bought, had to be wrapped in a sheet of paper and then tied with string. That for an 8-year-old is a feat, and when it wouldn't work right. I remember eventually we got Scotch tape, and that was a great relief. Since my father was a pharmacist and he filled prescriptions that physicians would phone in, that was the main part of his business. And I remember one physician who would come in and take things off the shelf and he wouldn't pay for them, and nobody ever questioned them. It really annoyed me, but I realized early on too, and I'm sure it had something to do with my decision, that doctors had some power in this life. There was a thing to be, and I guess that, of course, my mother wanted me to be a doctor, and that was a big factor.
Did you not want to be a doctor?
No, I really did. I liked helping people. I liked practicing medicine. We moved to Bristol Lane and I lived there till 1951, but I think it was the happiest time of our lives. He was a quiet man, and people would say he was shy and he was a deep thinker and things like that, but I knew that in the drugstore he was the boss. What particularly I think had a big effect on me was that he always thought I was a good athlete. He had been on the high school football team and track team and baseball team. And in the years after we moved to Bristol Lane, he began playing ball with us. And so there was always a relationship. You know, when you're engaged in athletic activity with your father, you don't fully appreciate the full effect. I remember that he was very muscular. I always wished that I had muscular arms and forearms like he did. And he was a very nice person. I can't remember him ever physically punishing me throughout the years. I can only remember my mother once physically punishing me with a hairbrush when I was a little kid, and I don't even know if that's a real memory or not, but it's stuck in my mind, so it might as well be real. But my father was a kind and gentle man. He was very respected in the drugstore. He was called Doc all of his life, and in those days a pharmacist could do what they call counter-prescribing, so people would come to him and he would give them various concoctions for their ailments. And he was a man we respected. I was chubby, and I remember that was a reason to lose weight. I remember being invited to a party, and they played Spin the Milk Bottle. Graduated from high school and started at the University of Cincinnati in pre-med, and in the second year I joined a fraternity, A Pi, and I was captain of the football team. I met Margot, who was a freshman. At the time she was dating a guy named Marvin and living with her parents, and they couldn't stand him. So the way I met her was that I would pick her up at the house because he wasn't allowed to come to the house to pick her up on a date. That's how I met Margot Lee. Parents found out that she was still dating Marvin, and they literally threw her out of the house physically with a small bag of clothes and no money. She moved into a sorority house, and I continued to see her at the sorority house because I think I was dating somebody else who was one of her sorority sisters, and she had no food, and I bought her Frisch's Big Boys, and I remember it was late in December at the time because we talked about going out New Year's Eve, and I didn't want to take her out New Year's Eve because I wasn't sure she and Marvin had really broken up at the time. So at any rate, she was grateful to me for feeding her. I was grateful to be able to feed her. Margot was a very good-looking girl. I liked her. And then our relationship continued after that. We became engaged, and I gave her a ring, which Janie now has. And we got married in Cincinnati. It was a wedding at noontime, and we went to Miami Beach on our honeymoon. It was one of those happy times in your life that you always remember. I couldn't handle the urine pathology. I didn't like doing amputations. There was all kinds of stuff that I really couldn't handle well, and I went into psychiatry, which was a growing specialty. My diploma from the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine, which was awarded after 4 hard years in medical school, and I obtained it in June of 1954.